Shalom, and praise be to the Most High Elohim. We're in Psalms, which is a new book and very exciting. This is day 192. We're going to do Psalms 1 through 3, which are short and therefore should shorten the videos. And we're also going to do Acts 17. Now, Job needed a lot of explanation. I don't expect the Psalms to. And there is a lot of information in the Psalms, which I might not hit all of it. If you have something to add, please comment down below. I will certainly fact check, but I will certainly also add them on as we go, as I learn, because nobody knows all of this, myself included and yourself included. So let's humble ourselves before Elohim. Father Yahweh, lift my friends up. Fill them with your Holy Spirit, and fill me with your Holy Spirit, that I may speak your words and teach them what you will have me teach them. I accept the responsibility as their teacher. I ask that you guide me in it, that you be teaching me, and lift them up, all your followers, individually and as one. Father Yahweh, you are great, and you are glorious, and you are the beginning and the end. In Yeshua name, amen. Okay, you can't really see it. Kind of you can. All the bleach on my shirt, which isn't even bleach, it's baking soda. So if you guys are looking for good quality, made in America clothes, Goodwear is great for shirts, goodwear.com. Origin makes great jeans. I didn't buy any other kinds of pants, but jeans. Zgano, Z-K-A-N-O, makes great socks. Also Covert Threads. And Flint and Tinder for draws. Nick's Boots, if you need boots. And Vermont Flannel for sleepwear. Made in America. This is Gustin, and Psalm 1. Blessed is the man who shall not walk in the counsel of the wrong, and shall not stand in the path of sinners, and shall not sit in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the Torah of Yahuwah, and he meditates on his Torah day and night. For he shall be as a tree planted by the rivers of water, that yield its fruit in its season, and whose leaf does not wither, and whatever he does prospers. The wrong are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind blows away. Therefore the wrong shall not rise in judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For Yahuwah knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wrong comes to naught. Okay. I was just looking at 1 Corinthians 15. And it says verse 26, the last enemy to be brought to naught is death. But the way of the wrong comes to naught. Just organically. Blessed is the man who shall not walk in the counsel of the wrong, and shall not stand in the path of sinners, and shall not sit in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the Torah of Yahuwah, and he meditates in his Torah day and night. So, should you be in this book day and night? Yes. I'm curious what does the King James say for Torah here? Because this is like, oh, here it is. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doeth he meditate day and night. Okay, so how can you even say that we don't have to keep the law? The first Psalm. It's like you can't. They make little New Testament books with the Psalms and Proverbs in them. Maybe not the Psalms, maybe just the Proverbs. But even so, we're doing the Proverbs of the day, and we keep seeing the Torah, the Torah, the Torah. So how are you going to read the Psalms and not have your delight in the law of Yahweh and meditate on his law day and night? Like, what? The Torah is how we stay in Yah's will. Very simple. It's not hard. Make some tzitzits, keep the Sabbath, stop eating pork. Sukkot, Passover, yada, yada, yada. Just little things that add up to obedience to Yah. And don't give away the farm. I'll tell you that. For he shall be as a tree planted by the rivers of water, that yield its fruit in its season, and whose leaf does not wither, and whatever he does prospers. Psalms are said to be written by David. I just want to point that out as we start this. He shall be as a tree planted by the rivers of water, so that he can drink the living waters of the Torah, also known as Yeshua HaMashiach, because those are living waters. The Torah is scriptural waters, but Yeshua is the Word made flesh, so the tree that bears much fruit, Yeshua says, and whose leaf does not wither. Yeshua rebukes the fig tree so that it withers and dies. I don't know where these scriptures are, so let me get the ever-loving extra phone. That way I can certainly tell you. We're going to go to John 15. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. Every branch in me that bears no fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes so that it bears more fruit. You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Stay in me, and I stay in you, as the branch is unable to bear fruit of itself unless it stays in the vine. So neither you, unless you stay in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who stays in me, and I in him, he bears much fruit, because without me you are able to do naught. If anyone does not stay in me, he is thrown away as a branch and dries up. And they gather them and throw them into the fire, and they are burned. If you stay in me and my words stay in you, you shall ask whatever you wish, and it shall be done for you. In this my Father is esteemed, that you bear much fruit, and you shall be my taught ones. As the Father has loved me, I have also loved you. Stay in my love. Ooh. Cutting by Messiah. Cutting. Matthew 21. "17. And having left them, he went out to the city of Bethania, and spent the night there. And returning to the city early in the morning, he became hungry. And seeing a single fig tree by the way, he came to it, and found naught on it but leaves, and said to it, Let no fruit grow on you ever again. And immediately the fig tree withered. And the taught ones, seeing it, marveled, saying, How did the fig tree wither so soon? And Yeshua answering said to them, Truly I say to you, if you have belief and do not doubt, you shall not only do what was done to the fig tree, but even if you say to this mountain, Be removed and be thrown into the sea, it shall be done. And whatever you ask in prayer, believing, you shall receive." Interesting that that is in both of these references to bearing fruit. That whatever you ask in my name, you shall receive. John 15:7, "If you stay in me and my words stay in you, you shall ask whatever you wish, and it shall be done for you." Matthew 21:22, "And whatever you ask in prayer, believing, you shall receive." "And whose leaf does not wither, and whatever he does prospers." Fill your fruit basket. "The wrong are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind blows away." This is an epistle. Matthew 3:12. "His winnowing fork is in his hands, and he shall thoroughly cleanse his threshing floor, and gather his wheat into the storehouse, but the chaff he shall burn with unquenchable fire." Speaking of Yahuwah, the wheat and the chaff. "The wrong are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind blows away, or burns with fire," by Yahuwah. "Therefore the wrong shall not rise in the judgment," being that there is a judgment. Second Corinthians 5:6, we'll start at. "Therefore, being always of good courage, and knowing that while we are at home in the body, we are absent from the master. For we walk by belief, not by sight. We are of good courage, and are well pleased rather to be absent from the body, and to be present with the master. So we also make it our aim to be well-pleasing to him, whether being at home or being away from home. For we all have to appear before the judgment seat of Messiah, in order for each one to receive according to what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. Knowing therefore the fear of Elohim, the fear of Yahuwah, we persuade men, but we have been made to manifest to Elohim, and I also trust in your consciences that you have been manifested. For we do not again commend ourselves, but give you an occasion to boast on our behalf, in order that you have an answer for those who take pride in appearance and not in heart. For whether we are beside ourselves, it was for Elohim, or whether we are sound of mind, it is for you. For the love of Messiah compels us, having judged this, that if one died for all, then all died, and he died for all. That those who live should no longer live for themselves, but for him who died for them and was raised. So from now onward, we know no one according to the flesh, and if we have known Messiah according to the flesh, yet we no longer know him thus. Therefore, if anyone is in Messiah, he is a renewed creature. The old matters have passed away. See, all matters have become renewed. I'm going to hang on to that other reference for now. Nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. Oh, sorry. Read verse 5 again. Therefore the wrong shall not rise in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. Spiritual, physical, together. For Yahweh knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wrong comes to naught. He knows the way of the righteous. Psalm 2. Why do the nations rage, and the peoples meditate emptiness? The sovereigns of the earth take their stand, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his Messiah, and say, let us tear apart their bonds, and throw away their ropes from us. He who is sitting in the heavens laughs, Yahweh mocks at them. Then he speaks to them in his wrath, and troubles them in his rage, saying, but I have set my sovereign on Sion, my set-apart mountain. I inscribe for a law. Yahweh has said to me, you are my son. Today I have brought you forth. Ask of me, and I make the nations your inheritance, and the ends of the earth your possession. Break them with a rod of iron, dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. And now, be wise, O sovereigns. Be instructed, you rulers of the earth. Serve Yahweh with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the chosen, lest he be enraged, and you perish in the way, for soon his wrath is to be kindled. Blessed are all those taking refuge in him. Okay. Why do the nations rage? This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 references to the rage of the nations. So we're going to go to Matthew 4:25 to start. Nope. We're going to go to Malachi 4:25. Nope. We're going to go to Acts 4:25. These M books. Okay, so it's used by, I believe, Peter Acts 4:24, and having heard that, they lifted up their voice to Elohim with one mind and said, Yahuwah, you are Elohim, who made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that is in them, who by the mouth of your servant Dawid have said, why did the nations rage and the people plot in vain? The sovereigns of the earth stood up, and the rulers were gathered together against Yahuwah and against his Messiah. So, this is going to bang up here. We're going to go to Daniel 2:44. This is about the statue that Nebuchadnezzar has the dream of, and the gold head, the shoulders of silver, torso of bronze, the thighs of iron, and the say calves or shin, the feet, legs of iron, and its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. That's how it said. Verse 44, and in the days of these sovereigns the Elah of the heavens shall set up a rain which shall never be destroyed, nor the rain pass on to other people. It crushes and puts to an end all these rain, and it shall stand forever. Yeah, see, this is how sometimes these get away from us. Go to Daniel 7:13. It's like 13 to 28. Yeah, okay. Daniel 7:13. I was looking in the night visions and saw one like the Son of Man coming with the clouds of the heavens. And he came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And to him was given rulership and preciousness and a reign, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His rule is an everlasting rule which shall not pass away, and his reign that which shall not be destroyed. As for me, Daniel, my spirit was pierced within my body, and the visions of my head alarmed me. I drew near to one of those who stood by, and asked him the certainty of all this. And he spoke to me, and made known to me the interpretation of the matters. These great beasts, which are four sovereigns, which rise up from the earth. Then the set apart ones of the Most High shall receive the reign, and possess the reign forever, even forever and ever. Then I desired for certainty concerning the fourth beast, which was different from all the others, very fearsome, and its teeth of iron and its nails of bronze, which devoured, crushed, and trampled down the rest with its feet. And concerning the 10 horns that were on its head, and of the other horn that came up, before which 3 fell, this horn which had eyes and a mouth, which spoke great words, whose appearance was greater than his fellows. I was looking, and this horn was fighting against the set apart ones, and I was prevailing against them. Until the Ancient of Days came, and right ruling was given to the set apart ones of the Most High. And the time came, and the set apart ones took possession of the reign. This is what he said. The fourth beast is the fourth reign on earth, which is different from all other reigns, and it devours all the earth, tramples it down, and crushes it. And the 10 horns are 10 sovereigns. From this reign they shall rise, and another shall rise after them. And it is different from the first ones, and it humbles 3 sovereigns. And it speaks words against the Most High, and it wears out the set apart ones of the Most High, and it intends to change appointed times and law. And they are given into its hand for a time and times and half a time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away its rule to cut off and to destroy until the end. And the reign and the rulership and the greatness of the reigns under all the heavens shall be given to the people, the set apart ones of the Most High. His reign is an everlasting reign, and all rulership shall serve and obey him. This is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my thoughts greatly alarmed me, and my color changed, and I kept the matter in my heart. Haggai 2:22. Because we're gonna just beat this. And I shall overturn the throne of reigns, and I shall destroy the might of the reigns of the nations, and overturn the chariots and their riders, and the horses and their riders shall come down, each by the sword of his brother. Which points us back to Daniel 2:44. Which has a whole bunch of references, which we're not going to go into, but Psalm 22:28, because we had that reference in an earlier reference, so let's go there. That we utilized 2:28. For the reign belongs to Yahweh, and he is ruling over the nations. Yeah. Why do the nations rage and peoples meditate emptiness? They're mad at hell. They're rebellious. They're stiff-necked people, as you might say. Exodus 32:9. And Yahweh said to Moshe, I have seen this people, and see, it is a stiff-necked people. But these are even the nations, so even worse. They just do whoring and idolatry and all types of crazy stuff. Zechariah 14:9, and then we're going to end up in Revelation. And Yahweh shall be sovereign over all the earth. In that day there shall be one Yahweh, and his name one. And then we'll go also to Revelation 11:5. I was just reading Revelation 12 about a half hour ago, and I was like, I need to get more in Revelation 11. Praise Yah. And if anyone wishes to harm them, fire comes out of their mouth and consumes their enemies. And if anyone wishes to harm them, he has to be killed in that way. Okay. That's, if we go to 18, and the nations were enraged, and your wrath has come, and the time of the dead to be judged, and to give the reward to your servants and prophets, and to the set apart ones, and to those who fear your name, small and great, and to destroy those who destroy the earth. Picking up what we're putting down here. Day of judgment. Go back up. Therefore, the wrong shall not rise in the judgment. The judgment, huh? The judgment, you say. Daniel 7:26. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away its rule to cut off and to destroy until the end. Capital J, judgment. The sovereigns of the earth take their stand, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his Messiah, and say, let us tear apart their bonds and throw away their ropes from us. The rebellion. The authority. They're trying to usurp the authority of Yahweh. Acts 16:17, having followed Shaul and us, she cried out, saying, These men are the servants of the Most High Elohim, who proclaim to us the way of deliverance. And she was doing this for many days, but Shaul, greatly annoyed, turned and said to the spirit, I command you in the name of Yeshua Messiah to come out of her, and it came out that same hour. If you understand the intentions of the demons, it is the overthrow of the reign of Elohim, not in its entirety, but among each individual. And so they divide and conquer. But not the blessed man who meditates in his Torah day and night. Not that man. Therefore, being always of good courage, and knowing that while we are at home in the body, we are absent from the master. For we walk by belief, not by sight. We are of good courage, and are well pleased rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the master. So we also make it our aim to be well pleasing to him, whether being at home or being away from home. Sound familiar? He who is sitting in the heavens laughs, Yahuwah mocks at them. Then he speaks to them in his wrath, and he troubles them in his rage, saying, But I have set my sovereign on Sion, my set-apart mountain. And I'm certain that there's a bunch of prophetic references here. We'll do them more when we do the prophets, because these are words of wisdom for life application. So that's kind of how we're bonding this together. I inscribe for a law. Yahuwah has said to me, You are my son. Today I have brought you forth. So, these have capital Y's of the U's. And I'm very curious how the rest of the books have them written, because they break them down so much. This is Acts 13:33. Okay. So we know that that is actually speaking of Messiah, because in Acts 13, we'll start at 32, and we bring you the good news, the promise made to the fathers, that Elohim has filled this for us, their children, having raised up Yeshua, as it has also been written in the second Tehillah, Psalm, you are my son, today I have brought you forth, and that he raised him out of the dead, no more to return to corruption. He has said thus, I shall give you the trustworthy kindness of David. For this reason, he also says in another Tehillah, you shall not give your lovingly committed one to see corruption. We'll get to that Tehillah. 16:10. Okay. So, ask of me, I make the nations your inheritance and the end of the earth your possession. This is to the Messiah. You are my son, today I have brought you forth. Ask of me, and I make the nations your inheritance and the ends of the earth your possession. I made the point in Job 42 about the archetype of Messiah. And this is just another example of the double portion. Job 42:10, Yahweh turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends, and Yahweh gave Job twice as much as he had before. You are my son, today I have brought you forth. We are going to go to a verse that I do not know where it is. Double portion. Okay. Deuteronomy 21:17. We're going to let's see, where does this start? I'm going to look in Genesis. So, all right. In Genesis 27, Jacob steals the blessing from Esau. And so we're going to read Genesis 27:29 to 36. Let people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brothers and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those cursing you and blessed be those blessing you. And it came to be as soon as Yitzchak had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had hardly left the presence of Yitzchak his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he too had made a tasty dish and brought it to his father, and said to his father, Let my father rise and eat of his son's wild game, so that your being might bless me. And his father Yitzchak said to him, Who are you? And he said, I am your son, your firstborn, Esau. Then Yitzchak trembled exceedingly and said, Who was it then who hunted wild game and brought it to me? And I ate all of it before you came, and I have blessed him. Yes, he is blessed. When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, Bless me too, O my father. And he said, Your brother came with deceit and took your blessing. And Esau said, Was his name then called Jacob? For he has caught me by the heel these 2 times. He took my birthright, and see, now he has taken my blessing. And he said, Have you not reserved a blessing for me? Okay. So, then Yitzchak answered and said to Esau, See, I have made him your master, and all your brothers, and all his brothers I have given to him as servants, and I have sustained him with grain and wine, and what then shall I do for you, my son? So, then if we go to Deuteronomy 21:15, when a man has 2 wives, one loved and the other unloved, and they have borne him children, both the loved and the unloved, and the firstborn son is of her who is unloved, then it shall be on the day he makes his sons to inherit his possessions, he is not allowed to treat the son of the beloved wife as firstborn in the face of the son of the unloved, who is truly the firstborn. But he is to acknowledge the son of the unloved wife as the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he has, for he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. Okay. And when a man has a wayward and rebellious son who is not listening to the voice of his father or his mother, and who, when they have disciplined him, does not listen to them, then his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him to the elders of his city, to the gate of his city, and say to the elders of his city, This son of ours is wayward and rebellious. He is not listening to our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of his city shall stone him to death with stones. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst, and let all Yisrael hear and fear. The firstborn gets a double portion. Okay? So, the nations, the ends of the earth, and Yahweh gave Job twice as much as he had before. Messianic archetypes. Break with them a rod of iron. Dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. And now be wise, O sovereigns. Be instructed, you rulers of the earth. Dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. Okay. I knew I'd heard this before. It's in Revelation. 3 times. 3 times this is in Revelation. 2:27. Which is a quote of the Psalms. Start at 26. And he who overcomes and guards my works until the end, to him I shall give authority over the nations. And he shall shepherd them with a rod of iron, as the potter's vessel shall be broken to pieces, as I have also received from my Father. Okay, so clearly, Yeshua's already got that all going on. Now, that's he's still in the message to the assemblies at that point. Theatra is who that is for. Now, in Revelation 12, and a great sign was seen in the heaven, a woman clad with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And being pregnant, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And another sign was seen in the heaven, and see, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on his heads. And his tail draws 1/3 of the stars of the heavens and throws them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she bore a son, a male, who was to shepherd all nations with a rod of iron. One more. Revelation 19:15. We all know this is Yeshua coming on the white horse. And out of his mouth goes a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall shepherd them with a rod of iron. And he treads the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of El Shaddai. And on his robe and his thigh he has a name written, Sovereign of Sovereigns and Master of Masters. Okay, so 3 witnesses of Yeshua being this shepherd with the rod of iron. Well, possibly 3. Revelation 12 is a little questionable. And now be wise, O sovereigns, be instructed, you rulers of the earth. Serve Yahweh with fear and rejoice with trembling. Nebuchadnezzar becomes Yahweh's man because he fears Yahweh. He respects Yahweh. He gets the sign given to him by Daniel and makes Daniel his third in command. You know what I mean? So he's got his best friend, and then he says, yeah, Yahweh's guy is Yahweh. However, the son of Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel 4 does not treat Daniel with the same respect, and the guy dies that night. So, serve Yahweh with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the chosen, lest he be enraged. Alright, what is this chosen? Hebrew, Nakash bar, chosen in Hebrew, but son in Aramaic. Kind of interesting. Kiss the chosen, lest he be enraged, and you perish in the way. For soon his wrath is to be kindled. Blessed are all those taking refuge in him. Yahweh is our strength and our refuge. Do we not know that from Proverbs 6? No, we don't. We know it from a different proverb. Okay, it's a psalm. So we'll read that when we get to it, because I don't like going ahead in my books. It's unnecessary. Psalm 3. O Yahuwah, how my adversaries have increased. Many rising up against me. Many are saying of me, there is no deliverance for him in Elohim. Selah. But you, O Yahuwah, are a shield for me, my esteem and the one lifting up my head. I cried to Yahuwah with my voice, and he heard me from a set-apart mountain. Selah. I laid down and slept. I awoke, for Yahuwah sustained me. I am not afraid of 10,000s of people who have set themselves against me all around. Arise, O Yahuwah. Save me, O my Elohim, because you have stricken all my enemies on the cheek. You have broken the teeth of the wrong. Deliverance belongs to Yahuwah. Your blessing is on your people. Selah. This Selah is not in my American New American Bible. However, this is interesting because it's giving me like general summaries of the psalm. Although this one does it too, the New World Translation. Psalm 1 is two ways contrasted. Psalm 2 is Jehovah and his anointed. Psalm 3 is confidence in God despite danger. It's actually kind of cool because it's like I just kind of like the summary. I often look line by line and I forget about the whole passage. Although, I mean, like, yeah, we talked about the right and the wrong, and we made all the Messiah references. We knew that it was about Messiah. This one clearly is about the salvation from dangers. I don't know why I picture, you are a shield for me, my esteem and the one lifting up my head. And he heard me from a set-apart mountain. I'm not afraid of tens of thousands of people. Like, let's see what they say about Psalm 119. I'm just looking up Selah real quick. Which is not even in here. Where's the glossary? This has the divine name of Yahweh. I'm trying to find the glossary though. Selah. A technical term for music or recitation found in Psalms and Habakkuk. It may mean a pause in the singing or in the music, or in both, for the purpose of silent meditation or to make the sentiment just expressed stand out. The Greek Septuagint rendering is diasalma, defined as a musical interlude. Okay. I thought it meant peace, because it sounds kind of like Shalom. So, just saying, I thought it meant peace. All right, now that that's cleared up, you guys want me to sing the Psalms to you? Blessed is the man who shall not walk in the counsel of the wrong, and shall not stand in the path of sinners, and shall not sit in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the Torah of Yahuwah, and he meditates in his Torah day and night. For he shall be as a tree planted by the rivers of water, that yield its fruit in its season, and whose leaf does not wither, and whatever he does prospers. The wrong are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind blows away. Therefore the strong shall not rise in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For Yahuwah knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wrong comes to naught. That was pretty good. I think I should do that in practice. Why do the nations rage and the people meditate emptiness? The sovereigns of the earth take their stand, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahuwah and against his Messiah, and say, let us tear apart their bonds and throw away their ropes from us. He who is sitting in the heavens laughs. Yahuwah mocks at them. Then he speaks to them in his wrath and troubles them in his rage, saying, but I have set my sovereign on Zion, my set-apart mountain. I inscribed for a law. Yahuwah has said to me, you are my son. Today I have brought you forth. Ask of me, and I make nations your inheritance, and the ends of the earth your possessions. Break them with a rod of iron, dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. And now, be wise, O sovereigns, be instructed, you rulers of the earth. Serve Yahuwah with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the chosen, lest he be enraged, and you perish in the way. For soon his wrath is to be kindled. Blessed are all those taking refuge in him. We're going to do 3 too, because I'm actually having fun with this. Okay. Yahuwah. O Yahuwah, how my adversaries have increased, many rising up against me. Many are saying of me, there is no deliverance for him in Elohim. But you, O Yahuwah, are a shield for me, my esteem, and the one lifting up my head. I cried to Yahuwah with my voice, and he heard me from his set-apart mountain. I laid down and slept. I awoke, for Yahuwah sustained me. I am not afraid of tens of thousands of peoples who have set themselves against me all around. Arise, O Yahuwah, save me, my Elohim. because you have stricken all my enemies on the cheek. You have broken the teeth of the wrong. Deliverance belongs to Yahuwah. Your blessing is on your people. We're going to work on that. I've got 150 some odd Psalms. I think 150 Psalms. Man, Psalm 119 is going to be a full 5-minute freaking epoch. More than that. Sometimes it takes me 3 minutes to read a proverb. Alright. How my adversaries have increased, many rising up against me. Many are saying of me, there is no deliverance for him in Elohim. Selah. We're going to go with pauses at the Selahs. We know there's deliverance in Elohim. Even Job doesn't say this, that there's no deliverance in Elohim. Job 8:5, if you diligently seek El and plead with the Almighty, if you were clear and straight, then indeed he would awake for you, and shall bless your righteous dwelling place. Indeed. What is this? Excuse me. But if 11:5, but if only Eloah would speak and open his lips against you and show you the secrets of wisdom, doubling your ability. Know then that Eloah forgets some of your crookedness is for you. Deliverance. Job says in 10:7, for you know that I am not wrong, and there is no one to deliver from your hand. Because Yahuwah brings deliverance. And Yahuwah alone brings deliverance. Even through the Messiah. He gives us the Messiah to be delivered. But you, O Yahuwah, are a shield for me, my esteem and the one lifting up my head. I cried to Yahuwah with my voice, and he heard me from his set-apart mountain. Selah. I laid down and slept. I awoke, for Yahuwah sustained me. I am not afraid of tens of thousands of people. They sang against Shaul, that Shaul killed his thousands and David his 10,000s, who have set themselves against me all around. Saw in, I think it was 2 Chronicles 20, the death of how many people? Just because they prayed. Yeah, 2 Chronicles 20. 1 Samuel 18:7. That's Judges. 17, David kills Goliath. We'll start at 6. And it came to be, as they came in, as David was returning from striking the Philistine, that the women came out from all the cities of Israel, singing and dancing, to meet Shaul the sovereign with tambourines, with joy, and with musical instruments. And the women sang as they danced, and said, Shaul struck his thousands, and David his 10,000s. Shaul was very wroth, and this matter was evil in his eyes. And he said to David, they have given 10,000s, and to me they give thousands. So what more for him except the rain? But in 17 we also saw that he literally says, but David said to the Philistine in verse 45 of chapter 17, 1 Samuel, you come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of YHWH of hosts, the Elohim of the armies of Israel, whom you have reproached. This day YHWH shall deliver you into my hand, and I shall strike you and take your head from you, and give the carcass of the camp of the Philistines today to the birds of the heavens and the wild beasts of the earth, so that all the earth know that Elohim is for Israel. And all this assembly know that YHWH does not save with sword or spear, for the battle belongs to YHWH, and he shall give you into our hands. Arise, O YHWH, save me, O my Elohim, because you have stricken all my enemies on the cheek. You have broken the teeth of the wrong. Deliverance belongs to YHWH. Your blessing is on your people. Yeah, praise Yah. Praise YHWH. Second Chronicles 20:20. And they rose early in the morning and went out in the wilderness of Tekoa. And as they went out, Jehoshaphat stood and said, hear me, O Yehudah, and you inhabitants of Jerusalem. Trust in YHWH your Elohim and be steadfast. Trust his prophets and prosper. And after consulting with the people, he appointed those who should sing to YHWH and who should praise the splendor of set-apartness, as they went out before the army and were saying, give thanks to YHWH, for his loving commitment is everlasting. And when they began singing and praising, YHWH set ambushes against the children of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, who had come against Yehudah, and they were smitten. Then the children of Ammon and Moab stood up against the inhabitants of Mount Seir to destroy and annihilate them. And when they had made an end of the inhabitants of Seir, they helped to destroy one another. And when Yehudah came at the lookout in the wilderness, they looked toward the army and saw their dead bodies lying on the ground, and none had escaped. And Jehoshaphat and his people came to take away their spoil, and found among them a great amount of valuables on the dead bodies and precious jewelry, which they stripped off for themselves, more than they could take away. And they were 3 days plundering the spoil, for it was much. And on the 4th day they assembled in the valley of Barakah, for there they blessed YHWH. Therefore the name of that place was called the Valley of Barakah to this day. Then they returned, every man of Yehudah and Jerusalem, with Jehoshaphat in front of them, to go back to Jerusalem with joy, for YHWH had made them rejoice over their enemies. And they came to Jerusalem with harps and lyres and trumpets to the house of YHWH. And the fear of Elohim was on all the reigns of the lands, when they heard that YHWH had fought against the enemies of Israel. Then the reign of Jehoshaphat was at peace, for his Elohim gave him rest on all sides. Alright, now we're in Acts 17 for the rest of our reading. Knowing that Elohim gives deliverance. Okay. Excuse me. Amy's black bean soup for dinner. It's delicious. And having passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessaloniki, where there was a congregation of the Yehudim. And according to his practice, Shaul went in unto them, and for 3 Sabbaths was reasoning with them from the Scriptures, explaining and pointing out that the Messiah had to suffer and rise again from the dead, and saying, This is the Messiah, Yeshua, whom I proclaim to you. And some of them did believe, and a large number of the worshipping Greeks, and not a few of the leading women joined Shaul and Silas. But the Yehudim who did not believe, having become envious, took some of the wicked men from the marketplace, and gathering a mob, set all the city in an uproar, and came upon the house of Jason, and were seeking to bring them out to the people. But not finding them, they dragged Jason and some of the brothers to the city rulers, crying out, They who have turned the world upside down have come here too, whom Jason has received. And all of them are acting contrary to the dogmas of Caesar, saying there is another sovereign, Yeshua. And they troubled the crowd and the city rulers when they heard this. And when they had received a pledge from Jason and the rest, they immediately let them go. And the brothers immediately sent Shaul and Silas away by night to Beroia, who, having come, went into the congregation of the Yehudim. Now these were more noble than those in Thessaloniki, who received the word with great eagerness, and searched the Scriptures daily if these words were so. Then many of them truly believed, and also not a few of the Greeks, decent women as well as men. And when the Yehudim from Thessaloniki came to know that the word of Elohim was proclaimed by Shaul at Beroia, they came there also, and stirred up the crowds, and then immediately the brothers sent Shaul away to go to the sea, but both Silas and Timotheus stayed there. And those who arranged for Shaul brought him to Athens, and receiving a command for Silas and Timotheus to join him as soon as possible, they departed. But while Shaul was waiting for them at Athens, his spirit was stirred up within him, when he saw that the city was utterly idolatrous. Therefore, indeed, he was reasoning in the congregation with the Yehudim and with the worshippers, and in the marketplace daily with those who met there. And some of the Epicurean and Stoic philosophers encountered him, and some were saying, What does this babbler wish to say? Others said, He seems to be a proclaimer of strange mighty ones, because to them he brought the good news, Yeshua, and the resurrection. So they laid hold of him and brought him to Areopagus, saying, Are we able to know what this fresh teaching is of which you speak? For you are bringing some strange matters to our ears. We wish then to know what these mean. For all the Athenians and the strangers living there spent their leisure time in doing naught but to speak or to hear what is fresh. And having stood in the midst of the Areopagus, Shaul said, Men of Athens, I see that you are very religious in every matter. For passing through and observing the objects of your worship, I even found a slaughter place with this inscription, To the unknown mighty one. Not knowing then whom you worship, I make him known to you, Yahuwah, who made the world and all that is in it. This one, being master of heaven and earth, does not dwell in dwellings made with hands. Nor is he served with men's hands as if needing any, himself giving to all life and breath and all else. And he has made from one blood every nation of men to dwell on all the face of the earth, having ordained beforehand the times and the boundaries of their dwelling, to seek the Master, if at least they would reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. For in him we live and move and are, as also some of your own poets have said, for we are also his offspring. Now then, since we are the offspring of Elohim, we should not think that the Elohim is like gold or silver or stone, an image made by the skill and thought of man. Truly then, having overlooked these times of ignorance, Elohim now commands all men everywhere to repent, because he has set a day on which he is going to judge the world in righteousness by a man, whom he has appointed, having given proof of this to all by raising him from the dead. And hearing of the resurrection of the dead, some indeed mocked, while others said, We shall hear you again concerning this. And so Shaul went out from among them, but some men joined him and believed, among those in Dionysios, the Areopagite, and a woman named Damaris, and others with them. So, they're kind of like rock stars. Let's see. I'm going to stay in camera view. I'm wearing out this center seat here. I don't usually spend this much time on the couch. And we're going to change settings. I delivered some pizzas tonight. Haven't worked much. I've been sustained by Elohim for the past 9 months. And it feels good to work. But I was planning on going to a park. Tomorrow I think it's going to rain. Excuse me. I've also got a dinner with a pastor. So now it is 1 o'clock in the morning, which is often when we end up doing these. Or, whatever. And having passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessaloniki, where there was a congregation of the Yehudim. So there's Jews in Thessaloniki. I believe that they're going all around Greece. Greece or Rome. They're going like back and forth. Let's see if this one has a map. Like 2,000 years ago. So, this is hilarious because it says 3 p.m. on Friday, he dies on the torture stake. And then he's appearing to the disciples already resurrected on the Sunday. So it's like, what is your math of 3 days and 3 nights? From 14, 15, 16. But it's part of the day on 14 and part of the day on 16. Exodus from Egypt. Israel during the time of Jesus. Final week of Jesus' life. I'm looking for a map of the travel of the apostles. Which it doesn't appear to have. B13. The spread of Christianity. Okay. We do have this. Okay, so let's do... Now I know why there's 2 tassels. It took me this long to figure out why there's 2 different This Bible has two different bookmarks here. I don't know if you, there we go. One's for the Old Testament and one's for the New Testament. You're literally watching Revelation. That's what Revelation looks like. All right. Now, here's the map. Can you see it? Good. This is going to be the thumbnail. I'm going to take a better picture of it, but let's see if I can identify some of this. Actually, I'll see if I can get this off their website. Interesting that a biblical book, because like time frame used to be BC before Christ and AD after death, and now this Bible is using before current era and current era, which is just despicable because literally time reset. This is like a 2000, as long as I was in school, I mean I graduated in 2012 and it was always BC AD, and then it just started to change after I was in school. So alright, so where are we today? Today we're in Thessaloniki. Let's see if I can identify this. And Athens. Macedonia. Okay. So Greece. I know where Athens is in Greece. And you will too once you look at this map. Antioch is in Syria. Boy, there's so much in here. Thessaloniki is, I literally couldn't even tell you what this country is. What? It must be pointed like right east now. Okay. Okay, so this is still current day Greece. This is very much current day Greece. Alright, so they're in Greece. Assuming that this map is way out of scale. I'm just going to tell you that. Egypt is like this big and Greece is like that big. Maybe Egypt was really that small at this point. I don't know. Alright. Cyprus, Lebanon, Syria, Jerusalem. Alright. I'm going to take a picture of this. Let's see if I can get this. We're also going to get the Yahuwah for, I believe it was the Acts 16 reading. However, I do like that Yahuwah is said here in Acts 17. That's kind of cool. Alright, so back to it. And having passed through Thessaloniki and Apollonia, they came to Thessaloniki, where there was a congregation of the Yehudim. And according to his practice, does that sound familiar? Shaul went in unto them and for 3 Sabbaths was reasoning with them from the Scriptures, explaining and pointing out that the Messiah had to suffer and rise again from the dead, and saying, "This is the Messiah, Yeshua, whom I proclaim to you." Do you want to go through every scripture ever that the Messiah is going to be Yeshua? Because I would like to see some Jews of today argue with Paul of yesteryear. Shaul. Luke 4:16. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and according to his practice, he went into the congregation on the Sabbath day and stood up to read. Shaul, taken after the Messiah. Isaiah 53, if you have questions. And some of them did believe, and a large number of the worshiping Greeks, and not a few of the leading women joined Shaul and Silas. And so this is where I say they're like rock star, because they've kind of got groupies now, but like they're also leading women. They're not groupies. They are very respectable women who follow Shaul and Silas. But more women follow them later too. And then in 1613, on the Sabbath day, we went outside the city by a river where there used to be prayer. And having sat down, we were speaking to the women who met there. All should be like Shaul, not married. And some of them did believe, and a large number of the worshiping Greeks, and not a few of the leading women joined Shaul and Silas. But the Yehudim who did not believe, having become envious, took some of the wicked men from the marketplace and gathered a mob, set all the city in an uproar, and came upon the house of Jason, and were seeking to bring them out to the people. Who this Jason guy is, I have no idea. Just some dude, probably some believer, that was associated with them and ended up being the fall guy. The Yehudim were envious. Wonder why. But not finding them, they dragged Jason and some of the brothers to the city rulers, crying out, "They who have turned the world upside down have come here too, whom Jason has received. And all of them are acting contrary to the dogmas of Caesar, saying there is another sovereign, Yeshua." So this is how the Jews get Pontius Pilate on board with killing Messiah. But, and I'll read that in a second. But listen to this phrase: they who have turned the world upside down have come here too. This is literally revolutionary information. I was listening to somebody say the other day, Jesus is the only man on earth who led a revolution not with swords and sticks and stones, but with words. But with words. So the Jews are saying that they're turning the world upside down. They are upsetting the balance of power. Well, this is true because Satan is in charge of this world, as we know from Matthew 4 and Luke 4, since we got so friendly with Luke earlier. Luke 4:5, and the devil taking him up on a high mountain showed him all the reigns of the world in a moment of fame. I don't like the way this is written because this is supposed to be the last one. And this is written as the second one, but it makes so much more sense to be the last one. Matthew 4:8, and again the devil took him up on a very high mountain and showed him all the reigns of the world in their esteem and said to him, all these I shall give you if you fall down and worship me. Then Yeshua said to him, go, Satan, for it has been written, you shall worship YHWH your Elohim, and him alone you shall serve. I had a guy tell me he'd never read Deuteronomy. He's like, it's just not important, it just doesn't pertain to me. We are going to read this in Luke 4:5. And the devil, taking him up on a high mountain, showed him all the reigns of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said to him, all this authority I shall give you in their esteem, for it has been delivered to me, and I give it to whomever I wish. If then you worship before me, all shall be yours. Because there's the witness that I was needing. There's the witness that I was looking for. And Yeshua answering him said, get behind me, Satan, for it has been written, you shall worship YHWH your Elohim, and him only you shall serve. So, in John 19, John 19:12. From then on, Pilate was seeking to release him, but the Yehudim shouted, saying, if you release this one, you are not Caesar's friend. Everyone who makes himself a sovereign does speak against Caesar. Therefore, when Pilate heard these words, he brought Yeshua out and sat down in the judgment seat in a place that is called Pavement, but in Hebrew, Gabbatha. Okay, so that is the way that the Yehudim and it was the preparation of the Pesach, and about the 6th hour. And he said to the Yehudim, see your sovereign. So even after they say to Pilate, he's making himself a king, and that goes against Caesar. Pilate says, look, you're king. Look at your king. Look at this man, he says. So, yeah, wanted to make that point. And all of them are acting contrary to the dogmas of Caesar, saying there is another sovereign, Yeshua.
And they troubled the crowd and the city rulers when they heard this. They get all upset because they're like, Caesar's the king. You know what I mean? Sounds weird to us, but they're actually like fighting for their king, which is loyal, but it's also kingsmanship. You know, they make great followers of Messiah. A guy told me once, I was like, "You ever read the Bible?" This was when I sat down in an African restaurant and talked to a Muslim for 3 hours. We were at the counter together, and he was a nice guy. We smiled at each other, we laughed, we made jokes. I went to the bathroom, came back. He had his food. He was walking out the door, and I was going to go get gas. It was next to a gas station. So I'm going to my car, and I said, "Hey, you ever read the Bible?" He said, "You know, I looked at you and thought you'd be a great Muslim." And I said, "You're Muslim?" It's like, "Yeah, a lot of Muslims around here." And I was like, "I'm Dylan." I can't remember his name. I have his phone number, though. But we sat down and talked in this African restaurant in Ohio for 3 hours. And our food got cold. His wife was waiting on him. He had a mechanic appointment that he missed. Invited me to his mosque. And we decided that, I was like, you know, we didn't end up praying together, you know, because we each didn't want to disrespect our God. But how cool, a white Christian, a Middle Eastern Muslim, in an African restaurant, sitting together over lamb and rice, just talking about God. What was his name? It wasn't Muhammad. It was like something like Oscar or something. Now this is gonna bother me. Alright, we're going to have to hold on to it. And the brothers immediately sent Shaul and Silas away by night to Beroia, who, having come, went into the congregation of the Yehudim. So, Jason takes the fall for this one. He distracts them. Shaul and Silas get away and go to Beroia. And immediately they just start going into the congregation of the Yehudim again, because why not? That's what they do. They got a job to do, and they're going to kick ass and take minutes. Now, these were more noble than those in Thessaloniki, who received the word with great eagerness and searched the scriptures daily, if these words were so. So these new guys in Beroia are not like Thessaloniki, the Thessalonians. They are noble and receive the word and begin to search the scriptures daily to see if the word is so. And that's what you should be doing. What did Psalm 1 say that the blessed man does? He meditates in his Torah day and night. Psalm 1:2. If you have questions, search the scriptures. If you have doubts of your belief, search the scriptures. If you're a Jew watching this, search the scriptures. Isaiah, Ezekiel. He's in every book. Job. I mean, like, he's literally in every book. Read all the Psalms. You can't. And there's 10 other tribes. 11 other tribes. What happened to them? Where are they, and why are you not concerned with them? Israel, your father Jacob, is Yahweh's chosen people, not the Yehudi. Then many of them truly believed, and also not a few of the Greeks, decent women as well as men. Okay, so because they searched the scriptures, they began to truly believe. And also, not a few of the Greeks, so many of the Greeks, decent women as well as men. So again, we get these women here. And when the Yehudim from Thessaloniki came to know that the word of Elohim was proclaimed by Shaul at Beroea, they came there also and stirred up the crowds. So this is basically like a George Soros protest in the middle of New York City. They're just like, let's go to this other spot here now where they are, and let's try and stop them there, because these Jews just have nothing better to do but try and stop the word of the Messiah coming. They must be demon possessed or something. And it's not all Jews. That's specifically the Jews in Acts 17, 5 to 13. And then immediately the brothers sent Shaul away to go to the sea, but both Silas and Timotheus stayed there. Shaul goes. Silas and Timotheus stay, and those who arranged for Shaul brought him to Athens, and receiving a command for Silas and Timotheus to join him as soon as possible, they departed. So now he's in Athens, where he stays for a little bit longer. Silas and Timotheus, I'm not sure what the holdup is, but pretty much he's like, do what you got to do and get back. And what the holdup is the Holy Spirit. Just, there's some people here. We're going to see how the Holy Spirit moves. Actually, no, we saw it yesterday. 16:6, and having passed through Phrygia and the Galatian country, they were forbidden by the set-apart Spirit to speak the word in Asia. So they don't speak what the Spirit doesn't give them to speak. They don't talk to who the Spirit doesn't give them to talk to. They only act upon the Spirit. But Shaul was waiting for them at Athens. His spirit was stirred up within him when he saw that the city was utterly idolatrous. So Shaul doesn't even want to take this on by himself. He sees how idolatrous the city is, and we know, I mean, Athens is a pretty well-known city in Greece. You know, the Parthenon or the Pantheon, whichever one it is there. One's in Rome and one's in Greece. I think it's the Parthenon is in Greece, is in Athens. They've got statues everywhere. They've got these false gods. They've got this. They've got that. You know, like they're very, I want to say pagan, but they worship a lot of false deities. And this is, like you've heard of Greek Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, I'm sure. And it doesn't say the set-apart spirit was stirred up within him. It says his spirit was stirred up within him. As in, he doesn't know what to do. I'm curious what this one says. Oh, Ephesians. Mark. Oh. This is a really good hip flexor stretch. What verse is this? 16. 19. Oh, that's 10. While Paul was waiting for them in Athens, he grew exasperated at the sight of the idols everywhere in the city. So this does not mention that he has his own spirit, which is interesting. This one says, that's the New American Bible. Well, this one does say his spirit was provoked. And let's see what the New World Translation says. His spirit within him became irritated. Yeah, okay. King James, I don't even want to know what King James says. Probably got some weird word like his breath was irritated. Oh, Paul was having an asthma attack. No, that does say his spirit. Okay. Alright. So, yeah. Paul's spirit. Paul's getting that, like, uncertainty about him. He's like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Therefore, indeed, he was reasoning in the congregation with the Yehudim and with the worshippers, and in the marketplaces daily with those who met there. Oh, negative. It's the opposite. Sorry, I should have read on. Shaul was waiting for them, but his spirit was stirred up within him when he saw that the city was utterly idolatrous. So he's like, nah, hold up, I gotta save these people. Therefore, indeed, he was reasoning in the congregation with the Yehudim and with the worshippers, and in the marketplace daily with those who met there. And some of the Epicurean and Stoic philosophers encountered him, and some were saying, what does this babbler wish to say? Others said, he seems to be a proclaimer of strange mighty ones, because to them he brought the good news, Yeshua and the resurrection. I'm not exactly sure what Epicurean means, but Stoic is a very, like, calm philosophy. It's that, like, why do you let anything disrupt you? And it's just funny, like, that they're, like, the wise men. Not the wise men, but, like, they're the wisest men. They're, like, the philosophers, the studiers, the historians. They look at things and go, why? Like that statue of the thinking man. I think it's called the Statue of David, even. So they're the philosophers, and they go, what does this babbler wish to say? They can't even comprehend that there would be one single mighty one. This is so out of their realm of philosophy. And then you bring the scriptures in, because I used to do this too. I was a Eastern philosophy, Western philosophy, studied it all, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of great life tips and tricks to it. But the issue is it is monotone. The spirit has fluctuations. The set-apart spirit has fluctuations in it. Sometimes you need to respond aggressively. Sometimes you need to respond passively. Sometimes you can see diligence in a certain direction and oversight in another one, right? Like we saw in Job with the ostrich that leaves her young for dead, and the raven that cries out for food, the deer who knows when to birth, you know, like, so, yeah. Don't be monotonous in your spirit. Again, we have the good news, Yeshua and the resurrection. He seems to be a proclaimer of strange mighty ones. One mighty one. So they laid hold of him and brought him to Areopagus, saying, are we able to know what this fresh teaching is of which you speak? He's got a fresh teaching, and this phrase is used somewhere else. Don't know where. Let's see if I can find it. Maybe I'm incorrect. It's getting late. For you are bringing some strange matters to our ears. We wish then to know what these mean. So they're just intrigued, which is cool. They're very curious people, and you need to be curious in order to find the truth. And that is how I came to this. Was I prayed for truth and understanding, and this is what it was. This is what was given to me. And I looked up and I said, this is what you want me to know? And he said, yeah. And I opened the Bible, that big fancy New American Bible, and the Holy Spirit just sucked the air right out of me. I'd asked to hear this information from a bearded man in the woods, which is how I found Bear Independent. I can't even remember if this is all in my introduction video, but yeah. Bear Independent. 600 hours of him reading the Word. And that's what got me into this. I was like, oh, this is clearly what I'm supposed to know. Okay. For all the Athenians and the strangers living there spent their leisure time in doing naught but to speak or to hear what is fresh. I'm kind of wondering if this is gossip. But hear something new. Or if they're just really interested in. Paul's discourse appeals to the Greek world's belief in divinity as responsible for the origin and existence of the universe. It contests the common belief in a multiplicity of gods, supposedly exerting their power through their images, idol worship. It acknowledges 17 and 27 that mankind's attempt to understand God is one of the most anxious of all its endeavors. It declares further that the divine being is the judge of mankind, and concludes by hinting that the apostle has information on the latter subject concerning a man whom God raised from the dead, and who is to be the judge of all men. Judge of all men. Speech reflects sympathy with pagan religiosity, handles the subject of idol worship gently, and appeals for the new examination of the divinity, not from the standpoint of creation, but from the standpoint of judgment. It is possible that Luke intends to show in the whole
incident, the difficulties of the learned men of the time in accepting the Christian message. Wow. It's possible.
So yeah, they want to see something fresh, and I just want to see.
Love nothing more than to tell or listen about something new.
Yeah, they're just. I mean, like, they didn't have YouTube back then. They didn't have TV. They didn't have news. They didn't have. I mean, there was no elections. Like, think about all the stuff that you take for granted as far as excitement. Even this, like the fact that I can upload a new video every day, and millions of people can see it. Okay. And having stood in the midst of the Areopagus, Shaul said, "Men of Athens, I see that you are very religious in every matter. Even though it's false religion, they are worshiping gods actively. For passing through and observing the objects of your worship, I even found a slaughter place with inscription, 'To the unknown mighty one,' which is just incredible because they know there's something bigger and greater that they don't know. And that is the beauty of curiosity of these philosophers. Not knowing then whom you worship, I make him known to you." And this is where he bangs up. "Yahuwah, who made the world and all that is in it, this one, being master of heaven and earth, does not dwell in dwellings made with hands, nor is he served with men's hands as if needing any, himself giving to all life and breath and all else." Stop there. This is a reference to 748, which is probably a quote from another book. "However, the Most High does not dwell in dwellings made with hands, as the prophet says, 'The heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. What house shall you build for me, says Yahuwah, or what is the place of my rest? Has my hand not made all these? You stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, you always resist the set-apart spirit, as your fathers did, you also do." So obviously, the heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. What house shall you build for me, says Yahuwah, or what is the place of my rest? Has my hand not made all these? That's just so beautiful to me, because no matter what we make, it's only because we have the creations of Yahuwah to make it. This house, your bed, this table, your cell phone, beans at the store, rice on a boat, green eggs and ham on a train, Sam I am, all of it, Elohim. "Master of the heavens of the earth does not dwell in dwellings made with hands, nor is he served with men's hands as if needing any, himself giving to all life and breath and all else." In Job we saw that the ox serves Elohim delightfully. The ox is delighted to serve Elohim in plowing the valleys, I think it says. If you bind the wild ox in the furrow with ropes, would he plow the valleys behind you? Would you rely on his great strength, or would you leave your labor to him? Would you trust him to bring home your grain and to gather it to your threshing floor? 39:9. Would the wild ox be pleased to serve you, or spend the night by your feeding trough, as he is with Yahuwah, pleased to serve him? "And he has made from one blood every nation of men to dwell on all the face of the earth, having ordained beforehand the times and the boundaries of their dwelling, to seek the Master, if at least they would reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us." So, obviously we know that Elohim made the heavens and the earth in the beginning. All descendants of Adam and Eve.
having ordained before the times and the boundaries of their dwelling, to seek the Master, if at least they would reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. Melchizedek, high priest in the order of Melchizedek, from the beginning of time. This is part of the case that I make in Job too, that he's reaching out for a mediator, for a Messiah, a master of all of this. Job's like, I need a master. I need an example of how to do this. For in him we live and move and are, as also some of your own poets have said, for we are also his offspring. That is an interesting quote line for this, that he is quoting the poets. And this is, as I said, there was a lot of wisdom, there is a lot of wisdom in Stoicism and Epicurus, but it has to be derivative of Elohim. For we are also his offspring. In this unknown mighty one, they know that Shaul is aware of the poet's writings, which is even more incredible. But I was saying yesterday that Shaul was like a very smart man. Even Peter says this, that Shaul is tricky to understand because he's so smart and he knows the poetry of Greek philosophers. We are also his offspring. They knew that they had to come from one. They just didn't know who it was. Now then, since we are the offspring of Elohim, we should not think that the Elohim is like gold or silver or stone, an image made by the skill and thought of man. This is very well said, very gently said, because they are very idolatrous. They've got all their statues and all their buildings and all their carvings and artwork, and I just want to take you to Psalm 82:6. I said, you are Elohim, small e Elohim, and all of you are sons of the Most High. But as men you die and fall as one of the heads. Arise, O Elohim, judge the earth, for you shall possess all the nations. Interesting that this New American Bible says he takes the divinity, which is a Catholic Bible, he takes the divinity from judgment, not from, what is their point here? Not from the standpoint of creation, but from the standpoint of judgment. Let's go on. Truly then, having overlooked these times of ignorance, Elohim now commands all men everywhere to repent. Having overlooked these times of ignorance. Not that he wasn't aware of them before time, but that he is overlooking them. He's not giving any credit to them because now we have the master to repent. Commands all men everywhere to repent, because he has set a day on which he is going to judge the world in righteousness by a man whom he had appointed, having given proof of all this proof of this to all by raising him from the dead. It says go to 10:42, which we can. And he commanded us to proclaim to the people and to witness that he who was appointed by Elohim to be the judge of the living and dead, that it is he who was appointed by Elohim to be the judge of the living and the dead. John 5:29 we'll go to. I think we did this when we were in Acts 10, but do not marvel at this, 28, because the hour is coming in which all those in the tombs shall hear his voice, and shall come forth, those who have done good to the resurrection of life, and those who have practiced evil matters to a resurrection of judgment. Of myself I am unable to do any matter. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is righteous, because I do not seek my own desire, but the desire of the Father who sent me. These are going to be all about the judgment and not about the appointment. And I'd like a text on the appointment, but I don't have any on my top of my head right now. So it's 96:13 and 98:9. At the presence of Yahuwah, for he shall come to judge the earth. He judges the world in righteousness and the peoples with his truth. And then 98:9, for he shall come to judge the earth. He judges the world in righteousness and the people in straightness. And we'll go to Revelation 19:11, but the takeaway from this is judge not lest ye shall be judged, but judge and judge righteously. We'll go to that after. And I saw the heavens opened up, and there was a white horse, and he who sat on him was called trustworthy and true, and in righteousness he judges and fights. In righteousness he judges and fights. So, do not judge lest you be judged. For with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged, and with the same measure you use, it shall be measured to you. And why do you look at the splinter in your brother's eye, but do not notice the plank in your own eye? Or how is it that you say to your brother, let me remove the splinter out of your eye, and see a plank is in your own eye? Hypocrite! First remove the plank from your own eye, and then you shall see clearly to remove the splinter out of your brother's eye. Do not give what is set apart to the dogs, nor throw your pearls before the pigs, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you in pieces. Ask and it shall be given, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened for you. For everyone who asks receives, he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it shall be opened. Or is there a man among you, if your son asks for bread, shall give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, shall he give him a snake? If you then, being wicked, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more shall your Father who is in the heavens give what is good to those who ask him? Therefore, whatever you wish men to do to you, do also to them, for this is the Torah and the prophets. Enter in through the narrow gate, because the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and there are many who enter in through it. Because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed which leads to life, but there are few who find it. And beware of the false prophets, who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are savage wolves. By their fruits you shall know them. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? So every good tree yields good fruit, but a rotten tree yields wicked fruit. A good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit, and a rotten tree to yield good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. So then, by their fruits you shall know them. Not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, shall enter into the reign of the heavens, but he who is doing the desire of my Father in the heavens. Many shall say to me in that day, Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and done many mighty works in your name? And then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness. Psalm 6:8. Read Psalm 6 real quick. O Yahuwah, do not rebuke me in your displeasure, nor discipline me in your wrath. Show favor to me, O Yahuwah, for I am fading away. O Yahuwah, heal me, for my bones have been troubled, and my being has been greatly troubled. And you, O Yahuwah, till when? Return, O Yahuwah, rescue my life. O save me for your loving commitment's sake, for in death there is no remembrance of you. Who gives you thanks in Sheol? I have grown weary with my groaning. Every night I flood my bed. I drench my couch with my tears. My eye has grown dim because of grief. It grows old because of all my adversaries. Depart from me, all you workers of wickedness. For Yahuwah has heard the voice of my weeping. Yahuwah has heard my pleading. Yahuwah receives my prayers. Let all my enemies be ashamed and greatly troubled. They turn back suddenly and ashamed. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them shall be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain came down, and the floods came down, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them shall be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain came down, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and they beat on that house, and it fell, and great was its fall. And it came to be, when Yeshua had ended these words, that the people were astonished at his teaching, for he was teaching them as one possessing authority, not as the scribes. And hearing of the resurrection of the dead, some indeed mocked, while others said, We shall hear you again concerning this. And so Shaul went out from among them. But some men joined them and believed, among them Dionysius the Areopagite, and a woman named Damaris, and others with them. For he was teaching them as one possessing authority, and not as the scribes.